All right, Truck Day has come and gone, and that means that spring training is right around the corner. It's coming up on Wednesday, February 12th, in terms of when pitchers and catchers report. Joining us now is a man who is at Truck Day and loves it very much, Dan Roche. Dan, I think we have so much to get into as it's related to the Red Sox offseason, and I think it's just good for us to start about where we feel right now with where this team is at. Because they've made some moves. They've made some big moves if you include the trade with Garrett Crochet. But people are still wondering about Alex Bregman. So what do you think about the Sox offseason so far?
Well, I think it's, again, going back to full throttle, I think it was productive for them. I think it was productive for Craig Breslow, but it fell short a little bit of what Red Sox fans were hoping for. And there's still the ability between now and the end of spring training to go out and get a right-handed bat and to add that to the lineup and to spend some money, whether it be Alex Bregman or another find of a right-handed bat. But I thought it was productive. I thought they did a good job on the pitching side. And I think the beauty of this time of year, Joe, is that everybody is 0-0. Hope springs eternal. There's warm weather. There's players working out in Florida sunshine. So I think you have a right, or you have maybe more so a directive to feel good this time of year because baseball returns. And that's the best part of anything. Truck Day, of pitchers and catchers reporting, of that first workout, players' first workout, positional players' first game against Northeastern. All that fun stuff now comes in here, and we hit these little milestones as we go. So feel good about life. Feel good about yourself, Joe. Feel good about the fact that the game of baseball is back.
You hit on the offseason and the idea of fans wanting more. And Dan, I look at the roster, and especially the lineup, because I think you can look at the rotation now and say they made some real moves to bolster this group because of Garrett Crochet, trading some prospects. And that took some gumption to do. That was not a comfortable thing to do, to trade Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, two other prospects to get Garrett Crochet. And they go out and sign Walker Buehler. And they're betting on him having a bounce-back regular season after he didn't pitch well with the Dodgers in the regular season last year, but dominated in the World Series start that he had, closed it out, obviously, at Yankee Stadium in Game 5. But that lineup, the projected lineup that you look at right now, and there's still a lack of right-handed bats that you would like to see in it. And Alex Bregman, as we're recording this, is still out there. And Dan, I just think this team still needs another bat, and especially a right-handed bat. But on top of that, what Bregman would give you is leadership, and he'd also provide some infield stability, even if you put him at second base where he obviously hasn't been playing. He's been playing in third. So I think he fits in so many different ways. And to me, this feels like the fit that could complete a really successful offseason, but hasn't been made yet.
Let me take you through my old college baseball coach, because we actually sat before we took to the baseball field and had this happen, where he said, gentlemen, take out your hats. And you had to put your hat, you had to flex it a certain way. He wanted it flexed a certain way, put it a certain way, the brim a little bit circled, no flat brim. And then he said, this is how you put on a hat, a baseball hat. You put your hand here, you go up, you go down, and you go boom, and you put the hat on. So I want you, Joe, to put your boom Dave Dombrowski hat on. And more so, I want Craig Breslow to put that hat on and find a way, like they did with J.D. Martinez, in getting a deal done to get Alex Bregman into a Red Sox uniform. So if they were looking for and had offered a 6-year with an AAV of $26 million, go 3 years and $100 million, right? Go way above what that AAV was going to be over a 6-year deal, and give an opt-out after 1 or 2 years to Boris, because that's his thing. Make it a Scott Boras win. Right, but go get a 3-year deal for a guy like Bregman, who's, even as the last couple of days, we've read reports that maybe he doesn't think the Astros farm system is going to be as good as, the Red Sox farm system or other farm systems down the road. Everything sounds like, Joe, like he wants to come and play in Boston, right? But his agent seems to be preventing it. And that's one of the things I love and hate Scott Boras for those reasons. He's as good as an agent as you'll ever find in any sport. But at the same time, if a guy wants to go to that team and play for that team, it's got to be worked out. So and I understand Craig Breslow's position from the sense of Christian Campbell, and giving him the ability to jump into that spot and being the guy that, a top prospect and play for this team. But at the same time, Bregman brings so much more than even a Christian Campbell can bring at least for now. He can bring clubhouse stability. He can bring what it takes to win, what it takes to play every day, and go hand in hand with Alex Cora and show the younger guys this is how we do it. That's what they need. I think he's everything that this team needs. So go make that happen if you're Craig Breslow. Shorter term, friendlier deal, make it for him and get that done. Because to me, that would set this team up to be a playoff team through and through from top to bottom. And the worst case scenario, Joe, one, if you give him an opt-out, he can get out of here after one, and it's a disaster. The second is if at the trade deadline, he's bad and Christian Campbell has taken over and has become that everyday guy, trade him. Somebody will take him at that short-term deal to try to win a championship. So I think that there's everything in my mind and heart says go get Alex Bregman, get it done today as you get ready for spring training.
And there's so much to be said about the leadership part of it and what he could bring. And just in terms of talking around the cage, it's a point I've heard WEI's Lou Merlone bring up a lot. And I think it's a very valid one. I think this too, Dan, again, you think about the end of the contract rather than maybe the beginning if you're a detractor of signing Alex Bregman. But last year, if you include what he did in the regular season and you stack it up with what the Red Sox position players did, he would have had the second highest wins above replacement on the team, only behind Jarren Duran. So you still have a guy that can be a very productive player. It's not like he's already completely declining. He still is a good player that's going to help a winning ball club. And I think they need more surefire things right now to say on record the Red Sox are definitely going to make the postseason. And to me, Dan, this felt like the pivot point offseason for them to finally say, we're going to make the moves that make us at least projected to be a team that you feel comfortable as a pundit, as a fan, whatever it is, to feel like we're a playoff team. And I think move away.
And I think they forget about the Red Sox and the ownership. Again, I'm one of those few people that just continues to say, they've done a really good job when they've been here. But I think this is such a no-brainer, right? This one transaction, Joe. And if they can get them to do that short-term deal so you're not stuck with a long-term deal, like you said, John Henry's, as against and what have you, you get that done. Everything changes around this team from a PR standpoint. And Sam Kennedy knows that. He worked under Larry Lucchino. PR, I'm sorry, in today's day and age, PR is a big part of what these teams are trying to do. You're trying to market yourself in Boston against the Celtics, the Bruins, and the Patriots. It's a big deal. So that would be the one big thing that would happen. If they signed Bregman, everything would change around the team, and the fans would kind of get back into it. Ticket sales would increase. Revenue would increase for Nesson and the broadcast. And those are the kind of things that you need to look at from a business standpoint of what Bregman can bring. And then, like we said, the clubhouse would change too. They'd say, wow, ownership, Rafael Devers would sit there and say, look, we got a guy that's won World Series. We got a guy that knows what he's doing. We got a guy that can show us all how to get it done. And then the last thing, maybe the most important thing, is that lineup. Like you and I were talking about this too. At the bottom of the lineup, you're going to have Wong and Rafaela. That's good. And then if you go up from there, and you could put Trevor Story in the 5 hole and put Bregman in the 3 hole behind Devers and Duran, that's a dynamic lineup. It's a good lineup. And the other thing I think people so often tend to forget, Joe, going into spring training is you sit there and say, wow, they have 6 starting pitchers. Are they going to go to a 6-man rotation? We see it all the time in spring training or a month in. Guys get hurt. So all of a sudden you think you have all this depth and everything else, it goes away quickly. So you need all those starting pitches, those arms. And if you got a guy like Bregman in here, you could start him out at second base, but who knows what's going to happen with Trevor Story. The guy just seems to have these, to be cursed when it comes to injuries. Then
Mine
maybe
would knock on it right now.
Yeah, exactly. The same type of thing, but Bregman could be playing short if Rafaela could be moved. There's all kinds of things that can happen. But the more depth you have and the more experience and that veteran savvy presence, again, it looks like a no-brainer. And if they don't do that, then at least get a right-handed bat in here. But they need something right-handed and to balance that lineup out.
Yeah, and just to close out that point, Dan, I've heard you've had trouble sleeping. So I'm back with stats to help put you to sleep. But,
amen.
But Alex Spear wrote an article about this, and I thought it was a really salient point about the need for right-handed bats for the Red Sox at home, because you and I hit on this a lot last year. Red Sox once again finished below 500. You try to figure out the reasons for that, and not to say this is the complete reason for it, but the lack of right-handed bats is hurting them. And as Alex pointed out, among 30 big league teams, the Sox had the third lowest percentage of home plate appearances go to right-handed hitters last year. And the reason that that's such a big deal is, as he pointed out in his article, is that right-handed hitters pulling fly balls at Fenway Park had actually the highest batting average among all big league parks in Major League Baseball. Batters hit 643 when they pulled fly balls at Fenway Park, and then their slugging percentage was the highest as well. So there's a science to this as well. And as much as times last year they got away with all their great left-handed hitting and overall had a pretty good offensive season, there were holes within that season, especially at the end, where you looked at the lineup and said, man, if they have a good veteran right-handed bat that can provide some thump, they'd really be in a much better spot offensively.
Yeah, and I think you look at that and we've said it over and over again, Hall of Fame players have come through Fenway as left-handed hitters, right? We've seen it all the way through with Boggs and, Mo Vaughn going back that far and just recent play and Rafael Devers and, Yaz and Ted Williams, left-handed hitters. But you can't have a whole left-handed lineup, and that backs it up too. That wall is right there. I mean, Kevin Millar made a living out of pegging people in the crowd when the Nets weren't up, time and time again, just pulling the ball down the line into the dugout and everything else. And then he'd hit a fly ball and it would scrape the wall. So those, if you can, like you said, if you can pull the ball, Manny Ramirez, if you can pull the ball, you can have a ton of success, doubles all the way through it. And again, a guy like Bregman's perfect for that. A guy like Teoscar Hernandez would have been great for that. Even Santander would have been great for that. So yeah, you just need to balance it out when you're facing rotations and specialists and relievers and everything else in the American League East. It just gives Alex Cora so many better options, and maybe Christian Campbell will emerge. Maybe he has a torrid spring and takes off from there. But again, that right-handed bat is so critical. So we'll see. I'm done. I can't ask for Bregman anymore, Joe. Try, but it's not happening.
We've asked as much as we can. All right, we have a lot more to discuss about Red Sox spring training. We'll have more for you here on WBZ.com.